Hey everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner and I have a very special guest in my corner who has never been here before. Would you like to unveil your identity?
Hello, it is I, Erin Fitzgerald. Ha ha ha.
I love that. Full of confidence.
I like the setup. It was pretty good.
Well, I try. I want to make sure that everyone knows how awesome you are.
Wow, thanks. Okay, I'll take that. That's awesome.
And so now I'm actually really interested. Is the weather where you're at really nice? Because over here it is freezing cold.
Where is over here?
I don't know. Where are you at?
No, well, where are you at?
I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, okay. It's really cold here, but it's stunningly beautiful.
Lucky. We're
Yeah.
still, even though we're in the desert, it's not pretty here because we have like grass that's like dead and yellow, but
Ah, yes, desert life.
yeah,
Well,
so
technically,
wonderful.
this is a desert too, but I live closer to the beach, so I get beautiful. Today's a gorgeous day. It's a really lovely day. Yeah.
The air must be really nice too if you're so close to the beach.
Yes, it's much better than being in the valley, better air quality. I highly recommend if you visit to Los Angeles, stay in Santa Monica, Marina del Rey, or Venice Beach so you get nice air and a lovely beach experience.
I always hear that Los Angeles though is very expensive to live in.
Well, it depends on what you're comparing it to. If you're comparing it to Middle America, yes. But if you go to Vancouver, Canada, it's just the same kind of costs. It's any big city costs is big city costs. It's expensive in the big city.
That's true. I should
Yeah,
know. I'm in a city myself.
there you go.
Now, I was wondering if we could actually take a time machine. I got a handy dandy DeLorean right here. And if we
Nice.
could go back in time, 88 miles per hour, and find out how you got into acting.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, like how far back? Let's go all the way back to when I was 3 years old. I've been told many times, and I have this memory of my first one of my first favorite movies at 3 was The Wizard of Oz. And I used to visit next door. There was a little old lady in her 90s named Mrs. Proudfoot, and she used to let me come over and play at her house all the time. And what I loved about Mrs. Proudfoot is that I could perform at the age of 3 the entire movie The Wizard of Oz, and she would sit and watch me the whole time.
Aw, that's cute.
I know, and I do believe that I'm an actor today because Mrs. Proudfoot was awesome enough to sit and let me perform for her for hours on end.
Now, do you still talk to her, or have you lost
Oh,
contact
I'm
with
sure
her?
she was 90 then.
Ah, I
I
see.
moved away when I was 6, so I lost contact with her, but I never forgot her. She's a big part of me in my heart.
That's a really sweet memory, though.
Yeah, it really is. She was awesome.
Now,
She was awesome. Yeah.
now after that, did you go to school for it, or or
I
did you hit the pavement running?
yeah, it was one of those things I just always did, whether it was in school. I used whatever was around. I was brought up in Canada. I was a Navy brat. So I lived in multiple cities. Some cities had great programs for drama and theater and stuff that I could take and drama camps. And some cities had nothing in which I would make up my own. So, pardon me, I always had it within myself. Obviously, it was something I just had to do, which I know a lot of people who are actors, they know what I'm talking about, where I would start writing scripts. I would force every child in the neighborhood to come to my house, including my sister, and perform everything that I was creating. I would tell everybody what to do, how to do it, so that I could have people to act off of if I didn't have a program to go and attend to. And luckily enough, my mom clued in pretty early, so she would put me in drama camps. Drama camps. I don't know how you Americans say it. Drama. I'd go to drama camps. I would, anything arts and crafts related, anything artsy. I was always in dance, performance. I just was a little, my sister would call me a diva. I was always needed to perform something. I would perform at family functions, that type of a thing growing up. I just loved it. I loved anything to do with performance. I just loved it. I've been doing the Wicked Witch of the West since I was 3. That's kind of my template.
And now, how did you get into voice acting?
Now that's an interesting story to me. To me it is because so I spent my whole life doing this performance stuff. then and when I got to grade 12, which is what we call it in Canada, grade 12, um, that was the year I graduated high school. And then I was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go into real life, or am I going to continue on into university? So I hid out in university for another 4 years because real life just, I didn't know what to do. And part of me was like, I should be smart. I should become a nurse. You know, I should be a teacher, something practical. But, you know, the acting thing was just so much of my life. I went for a degree in theater. So I studied theater in university, which really honed my characters, creating characters. So I learned how to create characters with my entire body for theater shows. And in theater school in university, it was an intense vocal coaching program as well. I'm not a singer. I'm no Christina V or Cindy Robinson. I can't sing like these amazing women, but I have always had the ability since childhood to do accents, to mimic voices. My father has that ability as well, so I think I got it from him. And it never even crossed my mind to do cartoon voices. I didn't even realize that was a job because my imagination growing up, those characters were real. I never imagined that it was a person doing those voices. I always thought that, Peter Pan was really Peter Pan, Papa Smurf was really Papa Smurf, She-Ra was really She-Ra, that type of a thing. And it wasn't until I moved to Vancouver and started life as a professional actor doing theater and television and film and these professional jobs, where I wasn't really particularly thrilled with. I didn't really like the intensity of the professional world. Like the content they were doing didn't really interest me, and the long hours, and the characters were okay, but as a woman, they weren't completely satisfying. And I found a job doing some voice work, background voice work for television and film because I was able to do multiple accents and they needed that. And my first day on the job for an Outer Limits job, I was working with Michael Dobson, which many people will know. He's a phenomenal voice actor, and he turned to me and he said, "How come you're not doing voice acting? Why aren't you in cartoons?" And I looked at him like he was nuts. I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean cartoon voices?" And he literally had to break it down for me. The people who do the voices for cartoon characters. I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean people who do the voices for cartoon characters?" And within 6 months, his brother, Brian Dobson, also an amazing voice actor, he helped me produce my first voice demo. And another 6 months my very first audition was for Ed, Ed, and Eddie on Cartoon Network, and that process was a 6 month audition process.
Oh, wow.
They just couldn't figure out the cast they wanted, and I kept having to go back for callbacks, callbacks, callbacks for about 6 months. And then my very first job was Ed, Ed, and Eddie. I was booked as May Canker on Ed, Ed, and Eddie. And then a year later, at the left, I've been Naz as well. So that was really how I didn't plan on becoming a voice actor. I just knew that I had all of these characters and all of these voices in myself. And so I kind of honored that truth about myself as much as I could. And I tried to fit it, into television and film, and I tried to fit it into theater, but it didn't quite fit. And then I just loved how the universe was like, hello, how come you're not doing what I've been created you to do?
That must have been confusing though to go through an audition process that lasts that long. I mean, if that was me, I would have been like, do they not like me? Do they like me? But they're just not sure.
Didn't have anything to compare it to, right? Because I hadn't really done any voice work. I didn't know that this wasn't the normal way of, oh, maybe this is how cartoons cast. How do I know? It's not like television where you audition and then you're on set the next week. Some animation can take, it depends. It really depends on the job. So it was a good first experience in terms of it prepared me for the worst possible scenario in auditions. Like,
That's true.
so I was never the type of person that worried the day after an audition that said, I wonder if I booked it, because I knew that it could take up to 6 months. I'm like, it could be one of those jobs that called me 4 months later. So yeah, yeah. So that's a good one for people out there who are just starting, and not to give up on your audition. Like you don't have to hold on to it, but no, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes with the production and if they're delayed. So don't worry about it. You can get cast months later. You don't know.
I guess it must have been a shock then, one time where you auditioned for it and the next day you got a call, huh?
Exactly. I remember one job on the way home in the car. They called me in the car. I was still driving home. You got it. I'm like, that's amazing. That felt pretty good. I'm like, well, I wish they all did that, but they don't.
Now, Ed, Edd n Eddy is a show that most of us watched when we were kids on Cartoon Network.
Yay!
Yes, of course. I'm not that old. But that must be kind of, I guess, a little bit overwhelming to know that so many kids grew up watching that show.
It's what's really fascinating is because it was recorded in Vancouver, Canada, because the creator Danny Antonucci, pardon me, he's in Canada. He's a Canadian. He's a Canuck. So Ed, Edd n Eddy never really played in Canada. For some reason, the Canadian networks, even though it was all Canadian made and produced in the whole nine yards, and it was on air in an American huge animated network, Canada never really picked it up. So the cast in Canada had no idea how popular the show was.
Oh, wow. That
No
that
idea.
amazes
And they
me.
weren't even watching it. Year after year, we kept coming back and we're like, okay, okay. But there was no merchandising of it. There was no, you never saw ads, you never saw toys, you never saw anything. So we didn't really know. And when I moved down, I moved to LA about 2 years into Ed, Edd n Eddy. And that was an amazing journey because when I moved down, they basically said, "Well, you're moving away. You can't have your job anymore." And I said, "Oh, okay, that sucks." And I left Ed, Edd n Eddy for a year, and they had a replacement for me. And then after that year, I guess Danny he wanted the sound he wanted because I mean it was a 6 month audition process, so he really wanted the sound that I provided. And after a year, they decided they would have to they had to have me back, so I went back and I finished the next 8 years with them or so. I can't even remember the math of the years, but it was an amazing journey, that show. And so when I moved to the States, I was really it was a gobsmacking experience to learn how famous Ed, Edd n Eddy was, how many fans adored it, and it was a trip to be the only actor who was accessible to fans because I actually was aware that there were fans. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
When MySpace came out and I created a MySpace page, and then everybody flocked to my MySpace page because I was the only person from Ed, Edd n Eddy on. I felt this responsibility, right? I felt this huge responsibility to represent for the cast, who I know would have loved to be involved with the fans, but they just had no idea. And I'd go up and I'd record. I'd say, "You guys, it's really, really huge." And they'd be like, "Okay, Erin, sure it is." They just didn't know.
Aw, that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it was kind of sad. But it's a different world in Canada, a different life. It's not the same as here. It's not as interactive with the world, I'm gonna say. That I don't even know if that came out right. That didn't even come right. But with the audience, you don't get to interact with your audience as much. It's not the same.
Well, I could say something obvious like it's too hard to swim through like maple syrup, or there's bacon raining from the sky, so it's,
Oh,
kind of hard to drive through it or something like that.
the snow, the igloos, and the insulated. I'm joking.
And the Yeti.
And the Yeti. Nice, nice.
Now that we've offended everybody in Canada.
You
Yeah.
can't do that. That's not possible.
Oh, okay, good. Just watch. I'm gonna get hate letter. I might get hate metal, which maybe might be a bat to my face. That would be really bad.
No,
But
no, no. Delete, delete. We're not gonna have that.
delete. But I will say that I remember actually back in sixth grade, or middle school, where during like a reading class, me and my friends were like sitting around and we were like pretending to be the cast of the show.
That's awesome.
And I don't know why, but as soon as
Yeah.
you were describing it, that's all I could think of. I was like, why do I have that memory?
No, it was an amazing experience. I got to sit in a room. The three Eds would usually record right before us because theirs was a much more intense part of the script usually. But I got to okay. Rolf sat across from me, and Johnny Two Boy Four sat next to him. Then Jimmy, then Sarah, who also played Lee, then Kevin, who also played Marie, and then me. And I would have tears rolling down my face because everybody was so funny. It was so hard not to ruin other people's takes because just watching Johnny Two by Four, oh my God, and Rolf, the different takes that he would do, that was played by Peter Kalamis, and he's a genius, a comic genius. He's a huge comedian from Canada. He's so talented, and I got to sit next to Kathleen Barr, and we would sit and break into song and laugh. And I loved working with that cast. I loved that show. It was an amazing time.
Well, maybe one day we can get the bloopers for that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And now, how did you get into dubbing?
I started actually in Vancouver. I worked for Ocean. I did Ranma One Half. I was Kadachi, and then I did Saber Marionettes J, where I played Cherry and Luke's for a while. But they weren't very informative in Vancouver. I found they weren't. I didn't have a very good experience because I felt like my job was to come in, read the lines, and get out, and I didn't really get much of the story. I didn't get really much. I didn't even understand how big anime was. I didn't know. And then when I moved to America and I thought, well, I did some of that up there, maybe I can do it here. It took me a very long time to break into the anime scene here, and again, it's not the best paid. I mean,
Mm.
nobody should be out to do anime because they think they're going to make money because they're not, as you can see with all the anime companies closing down. It's been a real big challenge just to get this art form to America and keep it alive, with English dubs. But the people that do it because they love it, not because of the money. They do it because there's a real passion for it, which is why I believe the fans have such a passion for watching it. I feel that energy attracts each other. So when I started doing it here in America, I was thrilled. I was so excited. My first job was on Bleach, and I've done a number of characters for Bleach since, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity to satisfy that part, that style of acting. I really enjoy it. It's a real challenge, and yeah, and I really like the people. The people are so amazing.
That's why we talk to them every day.
Exactly. That's true. That's just real. I know you talked to Tony Oliver, and he is the shizzle. I love him. He's so great. I've been directed by him many times. I've gotten to act, in the same shows as him. He's so talented. It's amazing.
Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you don't really have a musical background. So was dubbing hard? Because I always hear there's a rhythm with it, and if you play an instrument, it's usually easier to dub.
Well, I don't sing, but I have a very good rhythm and a very good ear. I would say I have a musical ear, definitely. I did play saxophone for a number of years as a child, but no, my rhythm in my ear isn't because I don't have a voice that sounds pretty singing, but I do have the timing and I do have that naturally. I know I get that from my father and my grandfather. They have that natural rhythm. It's just a rhythm thing. So yeah, I do agree with that statement. You don't have to be a singer to have that, but you can have a musical sense about you.
Ah, very true. My bad.
Yeah, yeah. Like 'cause you could be a percussionist and you have a musical sense. You could be any form of rhythm. Even if you're not a musician, if you're a dancer, you will have that sense as well. It's all it is a rhythm thing. It is definitely a pulse thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've mostly heard it being compared to knowing how to play an instrument. So that's why I brought it up that way. However, one of the things that you mentioned, because you were talking about the anime industry lately, especially in California, I've seen less focus on anime and a ton more focus on video games.
Yeah, I think it's because the anime has really been drying up. producers of anime, it's just not worth it for them anymore. They've got to shift however they're doing things business wise. They're not making any money by bringing new anime over here and dubbing it and selling it because the costs are so high that they're not making any money, and people aren't buying it as much. So I don't know how they're going to fix that, but that needs to be fixed somewhere within the business scheme of things. So I think the emphasis is more on video games because that's not going to stop. Video games are still coming over. Lots of that's just a growing market. So I think that's why the emphasis is more on that, if that makes sense.
And sometimes they can be longer than an entire series, especially those RPGs.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
And in fact, I'm actually still playing Catherine because I can't beat Babel.
Yeah, I'm still playing it too.
Did you finish the main storyline?
I don't even think so. I'm not even close. No.
Because I did that and I got like two of the endings and you meet a character with jiggle physics in her hair, the Afro character.
Like Venus,
Yeah.
Midnight Venus, Trisha.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she has this challenge where it's like Babel and I can't beat it for the life of me. I know at the end you get to see her hair straight though, so
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I want to play it just so I can see that.
So I loved that. Was fun. I was like, what? Look at her. She's amazing. She went from afro to straight sexy. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it.
I,
Until
I have
left
to
there at the end.
I have to wonder when you saw that character and her hair moving around like that, did you laugh?
I yes, yes. Not as much as the Ronald McDonald feel of Erica.
That's true.
Like we kind of had more fun at Erica's hair color because it did just feel so Ronald McDonald. But then Trisha's just fabulous fro. Just oh, we had fun. We had fun. Valerie Aram, who's the voice director for that, she's such an amazing person. We had such a good time recording that. It was really good. Shout out to Michael Meeker too. It was a blast.
And that game did very well for an Atlas game. I think it was their best game that in terms of sales so far.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and because it was such a unique story, like they really went out on a limb with the content. I'm very proud of getting to be a part of that.
And I'm happy to hear that you actually play it because a lot of voice actors don't have time to do that.
Well, I guess I don't work as much as the other voice actors, so I have time.
That's horrible.
That's just keeping it real. You know.
I think that's a great time to take a break, so keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want, nothing you don't, and you're not going anywhere, right?
No.
All right, so up next is Flo with their song Go. Keep it tuned.
Hi, I'm Masako X, proud member of the Team 4-Star Posse. When I'm not gallivanting around voicing naive Saiyans, perverted old men, and a bit of the odd vocal gender bending, I like to listen to 91.8 The Fan. They got everything I need to help me breeze through my editing with smiles and sunshine. I like to sing the odd karaoke, as well as review anime on my show Anifile, available at masakox.blip.tv, where I showcase the latest releases from Japan. Plus, if you ever wanted to get into voice acting, I also host the show Masterbox, where I aim to get you started in this fun online activity. So with that promotional canvassing out of the way, I return you to this stellar programming on 91.8 The Fan. Catch you later, and happy listening.
Hey, everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, and my special guest is still here. Yes?
Hello.
Yes, she's still alive, I promise. We didn't hurt her. Maybe we did. No, I'm kidding.
All good. I put a band-aid on. I feel better.
Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, specifically because I want to play your character in the game, is you're actually going to be in a game called Skullgirls.
Yes, I am.
You seem very excited about that.
I was so excited when Christina V contacted me on that. I was so excited because I haven't gotten to work with Christina V in person before. That was such a great experience. She's such a cool chick. Yeah. Yeah, that was such a great character. It was fun.
And I think she's the vocal director for that, yes?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. Yes, she directed. She directed me.
Ah.
She was fabulous.
And I love the appeal of your character, to be honest. I think that's a really cool idea.
I love the name Parasol. That was really cool.
And it must be nice to have a ton of minions.
Yes. Yes. I wanted more.
Now, was the that difficult at all? Because with fighting games, you have death screams and you have the grunts and the
No,
stabs.
that's par for the course. When you're a voice actor, that's just the job. That's just the job. You get used to it.
So,
I'm also very good at that crap. Can I say that? I don't
yeah,
know.
you can say that.
In
Crap, crappity,
Canada,
crap, crap.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm really good at the death stuff and the fighting stuff.
So
I
you
get when I do video games.
so you've never put a strain on your voice or anything like that.
Um, rarely. Usually, I can. It depends on where the voice lies. But in some cases, people who book video games are also very good. So they'll do like if they know it's a big screaming day, they'll save all your screaming for like the last day before a weekend, so you have like a couple of days to recover. Depending on what it is. And now, granted, I've never been in one of those games like Liam and Sam where they're screaming every single day. I've never had a job where I had to scream every day. Well, no, I think EverQuest was pretty good. That ratched my voice pretty bad. But yeah, overall, the directors know exactly how to manage a character, and they save the hard stuff to the very end so that, you know, if you lose your voice, it's okay.
Okay, good to know. And now the last I heard with that is that it got delayed again. So I'm hoping it comes out this year in quarter 1. I'm waiting for it.
Everything is getting delayed. I thought I'm on a series that's supposed to air. Well, that's going to air on Nicktoons. It's called Wild Grinders. It's Rob Dyrdek's new cartoon, and instead of airing this month was when it was supposed to air. It's going to air in the spring, and I was like, no, I have to wait. So they're airing the little shorts that they made that were made years ago with a completely different cast except for JJ, and now for the warm up to I hate waiting. I don't want to wait, Jackie.
So NDAs are not your friend.
No.
Well, if it makes you feel better, they're not ours either. Because then
Really.
you can't talk about them.
No, and the worst part is for game NDAs, by the time the game comes out, I usually have forgotten who I played.
Oh
I don't
no.
remember. I know I was in that game.
No
Who was
wonder you replay the game to find
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. There's been games where somebody was like, "Are you this person?" And I listed. I'm like, "I think so. I don't know. I'm not sure."
Well, for the listeners out there, are there any other things that you're working on that you can talk about or anything that's recently come out that you would like to promote?
Well, I just for anybody in the Los Angeles area, there's going to be a day of anime at North High School Library, which is North High School in Torrance. It's going to be it's a fundraiser for their school and their anime club and stuff. And Steve Bloom, myself, and Kyle Herbert are going to be there. We're going to do a panel. There's going to be autographs and cosplay is welcome. So anybody who wants to come join us Saturday, January 14th at North High School Library, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's free admission, open to the public. Um, that would be awesome because I would love to see people face to face. That's part of the reason why I want to do cons this year is I started to meet more people last year face to face, and I really enjoy that. I really liked just meeting human beings and having that exchange because it makes me feel like my job isn't just me in a small little room where nobody's actually listening. It encourages me and it makes me work harder, and I really love that. Oh yeah, watch more Monster High this year. Monster High is a series by Mattel that's been an online web series for the last few years, and it's just taken off. It's huge, and now they aired a special on Halloween on Nickelodeon. So there's going to be a lot more content coming out next year, new characters, new dolls, and stuff. And that's going to be very exciting. I'm very excited about that. That's going to be yeah, I think Wild Grinders and Monster High are my big things for this year. And a couple of video games that I recorded last year should come out that I'm dying to talk about that I can't.
Understandable, but at least you'll keep us updated on all your web zones, right? Do you have a Facebook and Twitter and all that?
Yeah, please join me I'm very active on my fan page on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Erin Fitz with a Z voice artist. And I'm very, very active and interactive. I love receiving fan art and pictures of cosplay. I post it all on my fan page. And then I also have a Twitter, Erin Fitzgerald, plain and simple, please follow me if you want to keep updated on anything in my universe. And I try to promote other voice actor stuff too. So you can, yeah, I'm working like that. Does that make sense? I
But
mean,
well, it's a good idea to have social media.
yeah, I want to know what everybody else is up to, and it's fun to see all the cool things that everybody's doing. I think it's fun. That's the point. That's why I do this. It's fun.
Exactly. And obviously, if you have any other events that come up, you'll let us know about them, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. And now it's time to put you on the spot. Oh, but basically, we ask everyone if they'd be willing to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
Awesome.
Basically, we ask if you'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Sweet. The trick of it is, however, that we do the takes live on air.
Oh, wow!
If
That's exciting. I might suck. Okay,
it makes you feel better, everybody confuses the numbers.
I
So,
won't.
okay.
91.8.
Very nice. You already got it down. Basically, we ask if you'd be willing to say, hello, my name is, you insert your name. I do this. You can say you're a voice of so-and-so character, you're an actress, whatever you want to put there. You can go free range and do silly noises, whatever you want to do. And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we're already recording, so whenever you're ready, you can give it a shot.
Hello, my name is Erin Fitzgerald, and I play Abby on Monster High and Stumford on Wild Grinders, and you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan.
See, you didn't even need another take. Look at that.
La la la!
I think you're professional.
Wow, that's awesome.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there?
Yeah, I just want to just give everybody a shout out. Thank you so much for people who are already on my Facebook and my Twitter. I really appreciate the support from all you guys. You guys have been so great to me, especially this last year. And I hope to be able to meet more of you in person this year. And just thank you. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it.
Well, the fans love listening, and thank you so much for doing this for
Thanks.
us because this was fun. You were a great guest.
Thanks, Jackie. You're a great interviewer.
Awesome. Compliments all around. And for anybody out there that missed any of this interview, don't fret. It'll be up on the website within the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled to 918thefan.com and keep your ears tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want and nothing you don't.